Good morning, and welcome to the wild world of pairs. I'm Michael Gandy, the captain of the ship today. I co-pilot partner in crime, Michael Gaskill, at the ready. And we're going to mix it up today. Talk about pairs, go into some analysis. We're going to do in-flight movie again today. So you get to sit back in your slippers, have a warm cup of coffee. We got you all on mute so that the kids or the dogs or anything like that's happening, don't worry. Feel free to just sit back, relax, grab your cup of coffee and hang out and let's try to absorb some of the content here today. So we still got the pricing is free for now. Pairs free for now. That is ending imminently. You'll be getting an email, so don't worry. I mean, it's not like we're just going to come out of the blue, and we don't have your credit card information anyway, so don't worry about that. But for right now, and I mean, we still have that trial. We'll still offer that trial even when we have the e-com implemented. So, if you got any peers or anybody that you want to share to, feel free. I mean, tell them to dive in. The water's warm. We're here. Also, at the bottom of any page, you got our YouTube channel link. Got tons of content here. Tons of content for you. Live webinars, export information, web page screenshot. Just a ton of good content here. By all means, dive in. Also, these are growing, the FAQs. And they're going to be growing today. We're going to be adding in a bunch of, got on deck a bunch of knowledge-based articles that some of these will link back to. But, these are questions that a lot of you guys have, that are, important to understand. What's the statistical standard deviation? Is there a limit on the data in my export? Estimates are crazy. What's wrong? These take you to helpful areas or explain to you what's going on. What's the stats tab for? What are tolerances? Here's the short boy answer. But then you got a knowledge-based article that it links to that, explains in detail what's going on when you mess with a tolerance. And I don't mean mess with, I mean actually engage. This is our job. This is modeling. This is not automatic. This is not push a button and just accept it like a sheep. This is actually you being a professional and engaging in a statistical modeling platform to find statistical evidence of support for your adjustments. So, look at, the knowledge-based articles, for example. There's we cover pairs method defined. You need to, AO18, USPAP, you need to understand the method that you are employing. You want to communicate that to your end user. Now, AO18 also specifies you don't have to know every calculation going on. You need to understand how your method is performing. The pairs method defined doc. Awesome thing. I wrote it, so I say it's awesome. But easily just highlight it, copy it, and paste it right into your addendum. You can read it so that you can understand exactly what's going on. It's a two-part process. We have a synthesized version if you applied tolerances. If not, then it's just traditional paired sales. But it's a two-part process. Paired sales analysis. That's phase 1. Phase 2, iterative method. And it's whiz-bang awesome. And we're actually going to do Pepsi Challenge. We're going to continue Pepsi Challenge Saturday. Not so much challenge today. I got a challenging data set that I'm going to fire up for you first, where I know a lot of you would have a heart attack. And this is good for me to bring up to you because, remember, I've hammered that typically, in a tract environment, or where livable area is, the primary driver, I've told you that typically on a statistical basis you're going to find that in a lot of cases livable area is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 70% typically We got one today I'm going to show you where it's about 83%. And this is not on a condo situation either. This is just a situation, age-restricted community, where it's very sensitive to livable area. And that's fine. And I'm going to show you today, not Pepsi Challenge Saturday, but I'm going to show you how the numbers are credible. You're going to see a lot of the coefficients, the variables, the numbers look great. You're just going to stick on that livable area. And so I'm going to show you that, you know, if you do the same situation under regression, it's scary, the complementary nature of the results. Now, that being said, the method of regression is certainly a lot more, you know, a little bit more difficult. Regression's an equation. You need to understand the nuances. If you're going to employ regression, you do need to get a decent foundation of statistical understanding of what's going on. Confidence factors, things like that. The number of representations that are typically needed or wanted for fairly credible regression outputs. That being said, the PAIRS method in a lot of cases is extremely complementary in the numbers, and I'll show you that today. We'll go through that. So remember, under support, FAQs or knowledge base. And of course, we went over it, but that YouTube link, I mean, there's tons of data for you. You know, you want to just spend a little time, understand better. Okay, so let's get into it. I'm gonna load up a data set that I just did, an analysis, I should say, and I'll give you the setup after. Any of you Vegas people on the line, you're gonna know right away where we're at. So let me just load up the analysis. And actually, I want to start from scratch, so I'm going to go in here and I want to go in the data panel because I want to start from scratch, but I want to make sure I got my roadmap. So let's go in the data section, and since I want to start from scratch, we're going to do reload. So that reloads all the data in my data set and starts my analysis over from scratch, because that's important too. You guys need to understand how I got to where I got and how easy it is to get to that point. So let this load up, then I'll give you some setup here before we get into it. Okay. The first thing we do, I keep telling you guys, this is not automatic program. You don't look at what jumps off the page. You got to work here. Now, work is not hard, and it's fun, it's insightful, but nonetheless, we don't pay attention to this. Don't pay attention to this. So, you can see records-wise, 207 records in this data set. Healthy market. So now let's, I'm going to go to the setup with you, because context is important. But this is a good one. I mean, remember I told you that rule of thumb. Typically 50 to 70% on livable area when it's a primary driver. Sometimes you're in the 40%. Not going to say you're not. So, let's just show you where I am here. We were a single family home. I'm just going to pull sales for now. I don't want the listings because I want to give you the context of where we're at. Of course, I'm a one-story, which this is almost redundant to do because the community that we're in is only comprised of one-stories. And actually, I can actually put in by subdivision name. Sun City Anthem. All you Vegas people are going wild now. You know where I'm at. We had a 1632 square footer. I think I measured it right on the money. And I know that this is an active area like most of you Vegas people would know. So actually, I think I went ahead and did the cheat and did just because I knew I was going to have a lot of data, did the plus or minus 25%, which I can't remember exactly. Well, I can do it. 1632 times 0.75 is 1224 to 2040. Now, I didn't put in any age parameters. As Sun City Anthem, I mean, it's all similar product. So there's 188 in here right now. I did this last week. So we got 207 in our data set. So, I mean, you guys, know where that's coming from. But nonetheless, here's Sun City Anthem. I'm going to give you the overview of the whole valley. Sun City Anthem's out here in Henderson, Western Henderson. Golf course, lots of good product mix. But so we downloaded that, exported that information, of course, and then we loaded it up. Now, I want to go to the submarket though. And just to show you that sometimes you have to be accepting of information. Sometimes it takes you to explore multiple methods to get a comfort level. But the median in the whole data set right now, before I apply any filters, and I got 207 records. So trust me, I'm probably going to apply some filters here because I can. I got a lot of data. But on a median basis, price per square foot, we're about $166 a square foot. Now, if you follow my typical logic where I told you that typically, and that's why I always predicate it with that, you're looking at 50 to 70% in your primary driver situation. You're going to say, okay, well, if I do the calculator, that's $83 to $116. Somewhere in there is what typically happens. Now, in situations, there are times where modest areas, typically, modest priced areas, older neighborhoods, what happens is the base is more impactful, is larger. So you get, let's say, larger. So the contributory effect of additional livable area, for example, is minimized. It's more having a house and a roof over your head in those areas rather than an extra couple hundred square feet. Now, conversely, there are times where you get areas such as Sun City Anthem, which we're doing today, which is an age-restricted community. The elderly people are more sensitive to livable area. So that would make the base smaller because they're recapturing on a contributory value a significant price per square foot of livable area. So I just wanted to show you that. So on 50 to 70, you'd be saying, well, 83 to 116, he told me, is typical. But this is probably not going to be an indication of typical. So right off the bat, I'm starting to see some numbers. And you know what? We got a boatload of data today. I'm gonna play around on standard deviations. I'll do 3 standard deviations. Now, I'm not going to have the prettiest histograms, but I'm going to have a statistical filter that's, definitely prudent. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. I didn't save that to none. If you don't do that, you get no solutions. And remember, we got to work. This is not automatic. So these are standard defaults. We're working on some stuff to blow your wig back on that. But, you know, we got pruning to do, guest house. This is a casita. This is a casita getting picked up. And we code it to a guest house. So you got two options if you want to deal with it. I don't have a casita. I'm not using any properties with a casita. Check the stats tab. We have 30 records in here that fit the bill. So that's 30 casitas. So we definitely have decent representation. We can measure it out. And if you needed it, you could. But we're still going to have, if we could get rid of those, we'd still have 177 records. So I'm not too, you know, dealing with an extra variable, guys. If you don't have a need for it or don't need to play with it, there's nothing wrong if you know that you got enough data without those records to filter them out. Now, I would not just drop this out of the panel here, because by doing that, I mean, that looks like there's a significant value. What's going to happen, I've already got, starting off, I'm not even looking at this stuff yet, but I can already tell, you know, I don't want to scurry too much value into that right now. The first thing we're going to look at is that market rate change. Now, I got a good article for you guys on this one. Good FAQ. Just wrote about it. I'm writing a knowledge-based article today. Technical trend line. Look at this for a year. For a year, negative 2%. Now, let's step back for a second. Take the weighted off maybe. Oh, look at that. Take the weighted off and it's almost bone straight. This is where you, the professional, have to use your judgment. I'm not calling this area declining. I'm just not doing it. I'm saying that's stable to me. So do I really want to mess around and apply any kind of rate in my data set? Well, no. I mean, because the market's not perfect. So some of this technical stuff is, you know, just the difference of motivation. Potentially. Might not be a real trend going on. It's just the way the data lays out. You got to be able to understand that. You can't be afraid as a professional to stand by your opinion of, you know, hey, yeah, step back for a second. And not be afraid to, you know, say, hey, that's stable. I'm not going down. Look, the last half of the year, it's up. Quarter, it's up. Significant. Well, we're not saying that's up either. The point is it bolsters and supports your opinion that it's stable. So let's cancel out of that. Now, so we look at the market rate first. Now we got to prune. We got to start pruning. First thing you want to do is handle things that you know you want to handle. So let's not look at all these numbers yet. You know, let's lot size. Let's just start checking the. We got guest house. That's a lot of. Let's see what happens to this just by taking it out. Let's just see. We're not even worried so much yet. We're just kind of trying to look at impact. Actually lowered it a little bit, which I was already high. We'll check that a little bit later. But let's look at lot size. Let's just start looking at some of the stats. You know, this is not automatic. Okay, now I see a problem in the data though right off the bat. Look at this. So that one property says this is an error, I'm sure, by a realtor. It's just not possible to have a property within the square foot parameters we had, unless it's 10 stories. So you know what? That could be problematic, or it's at least something we want to address. So you know what? Let's go into the submarket change and let's do lot size. and let's filter. I'm going to go 3,000 square feet to 14. I'm going to cut out that one because I don't like that. Probably not going to kill us because it's one record. But this is stuff you can do if you want to be more a purist approach. You want to kind of clean your data the best you can. Okay, we got some. Boy, that made a big difference, just one filter. Look at that. And I don't know if it was better or not. We're going to deal with it. Gated. Pfft, come on. There's one little enclave up there. Yeah, right. 3 records. See that? 3. Not going to be a big statistical relevancy here. I mean, I'm going to take it out. This is what you do. I mean, you start pruning, go through stuff. I mean, short sale, pretty high. Check the stats on it. You got 4. Now, that's 4. You're not really a big statistical amount. So we could drop it out of here, or, it does look significant to the negative. I don't want to skew too bad on that one. So you know what? Let's pick short sale, pick no. And let's click save. Okay, so no solution. We know why. We check the stats tab. There's 0 records in there. So we'll just drop that out of the panel, get it out of our face. And now, we're going to start using our, stretching out those statistical muscles. Now we're going to have to start engaging. Okay, look guys. Now remember, we're talking 83 to 116. So a lot of you are right off the bat questioning stuff. But let's just take one more step. So let's look at the sales prices per square foot again. 121 to 239. So we got a lot of data. You know what? Let's look at where the data lays. Golly, a lot of data. And I got a high number. Really high number. So let's just test. Let's put in $150 to $200 a square foot. That's only going to analyze properties within $150 a square foot to $200. Kind of a way for, I have a lot of data. We can go back in there and drop that out. It's not a problem. But this is a way, we were questioning that, which actually just went up. But we haven't touched our tolerances yet. And that's a key thing. You got to engage here. The first thing I'm going to probably eyeball is our lot size. At 500 square feet, our median lot looks like about 8,200. So, let's change that to 1,000 square feet plus or minus. I don't think it's going to make a killer deal. And I'm going to update it. Before I jump into more, I like to test one tolerance at a time just to see if it does something. Because, I'm not too happy with, I've got some data coming out right now with in bathrooms and garage bay that I'm not too happy. This is low and that seems high. Now you can say that still stayed high, and I don't like that number. Okay, so that lot size didn't help us out much. Let's tweak this up to 3%. Just giving a little bit more tolerance to extract out other variables like bathroom and garage. What is going on? You know what? I took out that guest house. You know why I took it out? Remember this guest house we had in here? So here's the logic. If you want a guest house, you're going to put it in the covered patio field, or you're going to make an additional field. You may want the lump. Sometimes I like the lump. Sometimes I'd rather have a price per square foot just for differences in sizes. But it's certainly something I probably want to account for. I kicked it out of the panel early on, and it didn't make much of a difference. It actually lowered the livable area a little bit, which I'm a little bit cautious of right now because we're getting high. But you know what? I do want to try to compensate for that. See if it's relevant. So you know what? Let's go, instead of guest house for the lump, we're going to remove guest house from the panel. But I'm not going to not account for it. I'm going to choose additional livable area. Now basically this is this, but it's going to render the price per square foot, which might be helpful if you got a 200 square foot casita versus one that has a 300 square foot casita. So now let's click update because we're still not too happy with our bathroom. Garage bay fell into place pretty nice. But let's just see what this does. Okay. Now, I know a lot of you, because I'm in your camp. That livable area, man alive. I mean, on the low side. On the low side, you're 141. And that's the low side. So here's a perfect example of where you have to look at your model. Now, we remove short sales so we don't have to deal with the distress. There was only 2 representations. On REO, you only have 3. So we could actually play with this one. But let's leave in the distress one for now. And I'll tell you why. I've got a good year built spread to me. And that's totally credible. 1,000 to 1,250 or 1,022 a year. Lot size, anywhere between, I can go $3 to $4. That's certainly nice. Pool, 18.5 to 20 grand. Nice. Golf view, about 30 grand on the money. Love and garage. I mean, I'm an appraiser like you guys. Look. Now we could play around too. I mean, in a second I'll change filter types. But 3,500 to 5,000 on the garage. Bathroom's beautiful. Look at that. And then additional livable area. So this is the price per square foot of those guest house casitas. Now that's also important. I mean, sometimes you'll get the livable area identical to that. And that's basically letting you know that the market is just as accepting as the casita as they are for the main dwelling, contributory-wise. A lot of times what you do get is you get there's correlation. There's a relationship between the primary livable area and the ancillary building, for your guests. And in this case, you can see that it appears it's getting, even on the low side, less than half of the main dwelling. And a lot of these casitas, just to let you know, actually all of them, I believe, in Sun City Anthem, are detached. So it's not inside the main dwelling, more of an accessory unit. So certainly as appraisers, we see a relationship between the accessory prices versus the main. But again, we don't want to spend a ton of time. I mean, time equals money. We understand that. So once you start reaching, good. But here's this is rough on me. I'm not going to lie. So let's test some different filters. Let's go to trim 3 instead of standard deviations 3. Standard deviations 3 is, taking 3 standard deviations from the central point. Trimming 3 trims 3% of the recorded values from the top side and the bottom side evenly. Both total statistical filters, been around forever. But let's switch from standard deviations to trim. Certainly prettier histograms in most cases. Okay, that was 70 before, now it's 71. Bathrooms went up. Garage stayed almost the same. Golf view went down a little. This is still high, different filter. Lot shaved down a little. I mean, we could always test. We could say, hey, you know what, I don't like that bathroom. I like the histograms and everything. Let's solve once. We could test. Now, solve once means the first time you render a acceptable value, or excuse me, as soon as you meet a certain minimum rule set, you don't need to go further in the iterative method. Now, in this case, we still have 252 pairs. It actually brought that bathroom almost where it was on standard devs. Which was a better number than this is a much better number than the other one was excessive to me. But I'm going to update it back at solve fully, even though I like this number better on trim, because I'm not necessarily convinced I'm going to use this filter yet. I want to check cluster size. Now, cluster size is an analysis of just what it sounds like, the clusters of the data. Not a really used filter all the time, but I mean definitely a credible filter. And sometimes, if the results are better, that's what it is. But again, now we had 70, 71, 64 here. So we know that we're in the hunt. These numbers are, this thing is stable. We still, it was higher on trim solve fully, but we solved it once and almost this exact number. Standard deviations was in this range as well. Garage bays, pretty close to the standard deviations and the trim. Golf view, a little bit higher. This would kind of be the higher golf view. The standard devs was the middle ground, and the trim was the lower. But look at that livable area. It's still high. We've been bouncing around between the 150s, 170. Lot size here is 4 to 5, about $4.50, $5. So you can make some changes. It depends on which one in the totality of your model is the most credible. And in this case, just by looking at it, I think standard deviations was actually the better filter. I like the results. Now remember, you can use any one that you want. These are statistical filters, completely logic-based. The only thing I didn't really care for on standard devs, so central point's 170. The lowest we can go is 141. On cluster size, let's just go back to that livable area, because I know a lot of you are looking at that. Even I am. Low side on cluster size is 135, so we can go $6 less. And look at trim. The lowest you can go on trim is $1.62. So trim definitely is going to, I'm already fighting myself on, I'm going to go back to standard deviations, but I'm already fighting with myself because right off the bat you're saying, good Lord, $167 a square foot, 166, median price per square foot. 141 divided by 167 is 84%. Now this is high. Now this is sometimes though a good representation of why it's good for reference purposes. Sometimes to check your own your methods. To validate the method that you prefer, which I use pairs. I've told you guys many times I have good regression programs that I will employ just usually as reference to show you when you have garbage sets of data, that no matter what method you use, you're going to get garbage results. But there are other times. For example, this case alone qualifies to me. I like everything in this model. I'm a little bit suspect on this. Now I like the correlation. This number's high to me, but I like the correlation of half for the accessory unit. I like that as an appraiser. But I want to test that because you know what? Sometimes you just have to test. So now I use the gold standard pairs. I use the pairs method. Paired sales analysis and iterative method. Awesome. If I were to want to get some kind of validation that or credibility that this is a testable number, is credible, The other methods in a big data situation is going to be regression. So, just to show you guys, remember, we have this feature because we're not scared of other methods. We make this easy for you. If we go back to the data screen, there's a button right here, guys, that says export. Now, not download. Download is just going to download the data that you fed into it. When you click export, you can now save this data, and we normalize the data in CSV format. So, normalized it how? All of those different fields that we've normalized, the bath count fields, the views, golf views in your list fields, all that stuff that you usually have to clean for your regression platform, because we mapped your MLS, we've done it for you. So by exporting the data, I'm going to have all the field variables that I don't have to search for. I'm going to have all the ones that I have available to me in pairs normally. So I went ahead and did that, and I dumped it into StatWing. I like the user interface on StatWing. So now, I did the same filters because we're doing apples to apples here. We're not opponents of regression. It's more complicated. I've used it for years, and trust me, I still, it's complicated, and you don't want to be playing around with something if you don't understand it fully. I understand enough of it to be dangerous, let's say that. I've actually used it for a couple of years, so that gives you an idea. But I've actually taken some courses on it, so I know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I applied the same filters. Sales price, 150 to 200 a square foot. Lot size, I kicked out that one incorrect record at 57 square feet. And we also put in the filter of no short sale, because remember, I had no short sale listed on ours because there was a significance factor. There was only 2. And sometimes if you get 2 representations of something, your potential for irregular results is significantly higher, because there's not going to be a lot of confidence when you don't have a lot of representations. Now, that being said, you could still derive a number that you say is credible, and there's nothing wrong with that. But anyways, I set up the same data set, used the same filters, and I plugged in the same panel results. Now, 161 on livable area. Now, this is regression. Now, remember, 153 records. So we're not talking about no data here. There's a lot of data. 74 on the livable area. Now remember, we were on the low side, I think 141, 140, and we had a 70 on the additional livable area. Now lot size, certainly on the regression approach, pool, a little bit higher on the bathroom, not bad. REO, we've got almost your 5,000 on your garage bay. But the main thing I was interested in was the livable area and the accessory unit livable area. Now, I just ran the PAIRS method, which is fantastic. Trust me. Paired sales analysis and the iterative method, nothing better. Very complementary sometimes to good regression programs. There's that automated one out there, is a piece of junk. That you're cheating. Don't use that. You're better than that. And, just take some time to learn something. It's not going to take you a whole lot of time. Trust me, it's liberating. And now remember, guys, this is regression. So unless I want to start jacking around with the data, I'm stuck with these numbers. I know they tell you, oh yeah, you got a confidence interval here between 151 to 171. That's okay there, but when you start getting a little bit down the trough here, look at this. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of confidence. Negative 6,000 to 15,829. Anybody, does throwing a dart come to mind right now when you get that kind of, come on. Now, and that's the central point. Still might not, listen, there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, it's probably smart to do. You're just not going to try to get a confidence out of it. So I want to compare this, though. The main thing were these two I was concerned about, because I am seriously suspect on 84% attributed to livable area. So I cropped them, and I'm going to show them to you side by side. All right. So here was our results from our pairs panel. Here's the regression results. I just want to show you guys that sometimes a good regression program is very complementary. But remember, this is why sometimes looking at and employing different tools or methods, sometimes for the sole purpose of validating the credibility of the other. Now our livable area, and I'm going on the low side, guys, you know I am. Yeah, I'm sure you would too, because I'm already out on my skis going, golly, that just doesn't make sense. But it does make sense, statistically speaking. And I got two methods now in my work file to show, hey, now I have a central point of 170. I can go from 140 to 200. I'm definitely not going there. The median price per square foot was 175. So I'm going to lean to the low. But let's look at some of the other numbers. $70 on the accessory casita per square foot. 74 regression. Bathrooms, we got beautiful. 5,600 to 7,000. Regression, a little high, 9,400. Still might not be, kill you. But, garage bay, I'm going to probably peg mine at 5. Garage bay, they got 4,908. I mean, yeah. Look at that. Golf view, 30,390, so I'm calling that 30 grand. Let's look at regression, 31,718. Same data sets, same rules. Pool, 18 to 20, I'll call it 1920. Their pool a little bit higher, not bad. Repo REO, we've got negative 17,000, they've got negative 14,000. And year built, they've got 1,600, we've got 1,100. The purpose of me wanting to illustrate this and show you this is not Pepsi Challenge, this comparison actually. This is more validation. First of all, pairs method, we don't need to validate. I mean, for goodness sakes, paired sales analysis and the iterative method. Iterative method is, I keep telling you, fancy way of saying algebra. Been around for thousands of years. Regression's been around for 150. Now, it's an equation. It's accepted. We're not opponents of it, but there's some nuances there that you need to understand, and typically they like a whole ton of representations for variables, for confidence, and all yada yada. My point was to show you, though, that this credible, accepted method, just to show you how paired sales analysis and the iterative method runs in big data. Hey, paired sales analysis, we're no chumps, guys. I tell you what, with the flexibility of the things you can do in pairs, we beat this stuff all day long. You can't open up, let's try to open up your regression. Here, we're back to pairs. Open up your regression and do solve once as a strategy. You can't do it. But you can do it here. All you're saying is, hey, once you meet the minimum threshold, don't go further in the iterative method. Just stop at the first time you solve for it. Now, we can change things. I mean, we can scenario model. You could say, hey, I've got land sales in here. I can measure out the difference between prices per square foot of dirt contributory value, and I can plug in a static number, $3, and put adjust only. You can build that into your statistical model. See, this is what I'm saying. The results are complementary. The flexibility on what you can do is unmatched. So my point, though, was to illustrate to you that even me, once in a while, digs into a regression platform for the sole purpose of validating my results from pairs. And in this case, it's worthy of doing that when you get higher prices per square foot than you're typically normally used to seeing. Or, conversely, if you're seeing contributory values, prices per square foot of a lot less than you're used to seeing on a percentage basis to your median sales price per square foot. Now, for any additional confidence, I mean, $70, I mean, look at the standard deviation. It's only $2. I mean, that's really a good number. But nonetheless, I just wanted to illustrate that to you. This is not so much of a challenge, even though I like, our bathroom number better, got a little bit more room to run here. So I just wanted to illustrate to you that sometimes it's good to question the results. Now, you have to be you have to be willing to accept plausible numbers. Hey guys, sorry about that. Michael and I were just laughing because you know what? A lot of people ask, oh, is it, are people call and say, I'm trying out the program. I want to see if this is the one for me. And to be honest, if you just take a slight learning curve and you start to learn, it's a platform for everybody. Maximum engagement, maximum understanding, flexibility, and bang up results. But also, when people say, is this the method for me? We don't want to discourage you. Look, this is a perfect example. I'm the ninja master. I do this all. I do so many sets of data. It's, ridiculous. But even I question the results sometimes on certain key. I was accepting of everything. That's what was really blowing my mind is you can't usually get all your variables into Happy Town and have your primary one not be credible as well. I mean, it's okay. You can once in a while have a decent number for one variable and everything else is out of balance. But when you start reaching this kind of balance, you're asking yourself, golly, that's a high. But look, this is a perfect case example of sometimes why it's good for you to at least have a backup method like regression or something else to test, just to give you more credibility or validate the credibility of your model. Now, we don't do that all the time. A lot of times, the numbers, there's a lot of relationship. But once in a while, it's good just to test yourself. So again, we're happy. I mean, listen, I'm going to lean on the low side here. I'm not going to make it 141. Maybe I will. I don't know. I already did this one. I did 145. And why? Because I'm the professional. I'm the expert, and that's what I say. And I'm statistically supported anywhere between these goalposts. So I got room to run. I'm not going up towards 200. My median price per square foot was 170 or 167. So I'm not even going to be there. Now, that was the median price per square foot. So that must mean that the base is very low in this data set, in this area. And I'm not going to bother you talking about statistics if you don't understand what a base is. Don't worry. Pairs, we don't worry about a base in pairs. Every property has a base. We isolate variables and we solve. Now, are they interrelated? Yes, they are. But we isolate variables and we solve. Regression is just an equation. So anyways, we're going to go to our precursor page here, guys, and we're going to get cooking. Okay, additional livable area. I like that. So the average casita out there is about 240 square feet. So that's going to make, just on the livable area portion of it, that's going to make a casita accessory unit about 16,800. Now that's lower than when it was guest house, but remember this. These casitas, I think all of them, have a bath. So actually the adjustment for that casita will be on the square foot estimate would be 16,800 plus, let's say we're going to do a $6,000 bath. So about 22,800 for a 240 square foot accessory unit. Now again, I'm keeping my foot off the gas on this one. I mean, I validated that, yeah, that's what the market's saying statistically. I'm going to go ahead and get that unicorn $5,000 garage bay that we love to see. And I like the center point. I don't like using the calculator, but hey, you know, $349, $350 a square foot, good. Pool. I'm not dealing with any, but I'll call it 20. We'll go ahead and round that down to 17,000. We took out short sales, guys, because there's only 2. I'm not worried about those 2 anyways. Even a CU stip's not going to come back on those 2. I'm pretty confident. So we're just rounding. Look at that, 30,000, beautiful. And we're going to lock them in. Go to our adjustment page. Let's get to the money shot. Why is it essential? I'm telling you guys, this is coming. My crystal ball's not working, so I don't know when it's coming, but it's coming. You're going to eventually have to show your support. Now, I don't care if you show a Microsoft Excel page that shows that you paired out 3 properties to each other. Now, when you do that, you're going to say, well, those are good numbers. There's 3 properties. And I assure you that an end user, you're going to get one of those gristly review people that's he's going to question, yay, 3 properties, you know, you're really going to hang your hat on that? So statistical evidence is coming. So here's the validation page. Go to our FireShot web page screenshot. We're going to capture a selection. Uh-oh, did that wrong. Great thing is you can start all over. But look how easy. I'm going to copy it and copy that image, and then we're just going to paste it anywhere we want. I'm print a copy, PDF, send it to my work file. Now, this is not the only thing I'm keeping in my work file. This member has limited information. I mean, it talks about the properties, number of records, my rule sets, my standard, my filter options, any market rate, the analysis date, gives you some statistical data points, the number of pairs that went behind this number, any tolerances, the solution strategy, which I use solve fully, standard, default on all of them, and some commentary for the end user. But you know, here, I'm printing this for my work file, this next page, the view report. Now this has the whole roadmap again, but gives a lot more statistical data points. You know, certainly this is what you want to have. You know, for God forbid if the state comes a calling or there's a litigation situation. But you guys want to communicate the validation page. Put it in the report. If you're going to take the time to learn, you know, you've just taken, if you insert this into the appraisal, you've taken the adjustment part off the table. There's no more questioning you. Do you have statistical support? Where's your evidence of supporting this number? Did you just make it up? You using Bob's Book of Values? For one thing, most people are going to look at that $145 square foot and they're going to know that you either employed some kind of credible program or you're just insane. Because that seems high. You know what? What are they going to do? They're going to come back and say, yeah, you know what? Your program's broke. Really? Really? Okay. Well, here's regression. I used the PAIRS method, paired sales analysis, the gold standard with the iterative method. You don't like that. And I also just showed you the results from regression in my work file. Now that's why I used it on this one, because I want double support on that, just to show, hey guys, yeah, I know it seems high, but that's the data, and I'm not afraid to be the professional. And I kept my foot off the gas. because I was still statistically supported within that goalpost, and look at that number of pairs. Who's going to argue? 10,737 pairs went in that number. And I mean, beautiful. And that illustrates the finger that you're throwing to Fannie Mae on the robo-computer. See you. Don't fear the computer. This is to your benefit. That computer is actually the greatest thing invented for you. Because why? Well, we know why. Now, Fannie Mae's running around. You know, the only thing that they can do, really, is take large sets of data and do an automated regression panel to try to find support, statistical support for coefficients, variables. That's what that coefficient means, variables in your panel. But they don't know how, that computer does not know how to define a market area, does not know how to define proper parameters for livable area, all these different things. It takes a 3-mile radius cereal bowl approach, which is just ridiculous. But Fannie Mae knows that. They know the limitations, guys. What they're trying to do is they're trying to get some kind of statistical evidence, because there have been appraisers for years that have done nothing. Or on the very low end. You can't be using that gut. How do we know that Fannie Mae knows that a program like PAIRS, where the professional defines the market area and runs the data? How do we know that Fannie Mae knows that's superior to anything they can do automated? Well, let's read their words ourselves. CU is effectively predictive of appraisal defects, but there are false positives. Well-informed human judgment should take precedence over automated results. Now, we've been banging on this topic for, since January. And you know what? I don't know. I mean, I'm the one that keeps telling you, don't fear that robo-computer. You got that thing beat hands down. Matter of fact, there's probably not 3 people at Fannie Mae that can even explain to you how it works. So don't fear the results from a robo-computer. Just engage and present your own. Data presented by the professional. This is what we're here for. So I just can't stress it enough. I mean, this is what you want to have. And again, in that, in this once in a while, a multiple method, there's nothing wrong with, cascading against a different method. And it's a huge, huge benefit to you if you have another regression, if you use even a simple regression. I don't know. It's a huge benefit, though. We're the only ones that created an export. We normalize all that data with all that crazy mapping that we do. You don't have to just dump your fields, then go through all the bath counts, make sure they total up right, find all the ones with golf course, because golf course could be in 6 different fields. We find all those, we put them together, we create the guest house variable, the additional livable area. We get all that data. You can export it and dump it right into regression now. So if anything, that goes to show you, you know why? We do that because we're not afraid of the other method. When you learn the power at your fingertips of what you can do in this method, we're confident that you'll choose PAIRS. But it's not automatic. And I got news for you, regression's not automatic either. The only reason it looks so pretty on that picture was because I took the time to engage in the model, get to where everything was credible. I was questioning this one, but everything else was looking good. And then I went into regression and I selected all of the things that I had done out of PAIRS. So of course it was easier there. Now I'd have been fumbling around if I'd have done regression. I'd have been adding variables, testing one, this one, this one, this one. So I made it easy. That's why it was easy. But just goes to show you that for frame of reference, I mean, the numbers were extremely complementary. So, moral of the story, I mean, you have to be willing as a professional to expand your view on value-related issues. Now, in that case, it would take most of you a little bit of time and comfort, a cup of coffee or two, to accept that high price per square foot, 84%. The trick is, though, is I will question those two, and I just showed you I did, but I tested it with another method. That is the data. You have to be willing, though, to take that extra step and apply it. Now, you've done the analysis. You have all the data to back up your position. And I assure you, you just have to be accepting and do it in the application on your appraisal. And that's the part that scares people. They don't want to have that crazy number out there. I get it. I get it. So, okay. Let's blaze through another one real quick that I did. See, I'm showing you ones that I just did this week. I was a little bit ahead of you, so I'll give you the context. Let's see. 511. I'm dealing with my other screen here, people. So hold on just a second. So yeah, to be fair, we're going to reload the data because I want to start off. I want to show you guys how to slice and dice through the panel. I don't want to show you after I already got, to the money area. Now remember, we started off, we're growing this. We started off, I use trim a lot. Last month or two, I've been on the kick of standard deviations. Both of them good filters. I don't care. If you like the pretty histogram, you can roll trim. Standard deviations a lot of times handle sometimes those crazy outlier or crazy variables that spit out a crazy number once in a while. So let's get into this before I show you the context. Now, this is one of those situations where, some of you are like, hot dog, man, we are almost there, except for this is bad. Oh man, that's bad. That crushed us. I was starting to look like, oh boy. Yeah, that's not good. That's okay. We got things to prune. Now, what is the first thing, of course, that we do? Market rate change. Okay. Annual rate on a price per square foot median. 1.22%. Now that's for the annual. So that's 0.1% a month. I test our weighted. Weighted actually better. You know what I'm going to say? Take out distressed out of the mix. But again, even then, look at these candles. Come on. Negligible. We'll test the average. Oh, look at that. Average is a little bit of a down versus median, a little bit of an up. Moral of the story, Mr. Rogers, is this is stable to me. Now, hey, if you guys want to illustrate your point on this, nothing wrong with using your web page screenshot tool to paste this in your report. An extra photo page, extra map page. Look at that. You paste that right in an extra photo page or a map page, and you got multiple options to deal with. If you want to go back, if you wanted to load up historic data to show longer trend lines, you're doing something forensic. You want to show the current quarter. You want to change the format. Change the trimine. Awesome. Trimine is stable as all heck, boys. Trimine is an awesome tool. But again, I mean, your web page screenshot, just, hey, highlight your area if you want to. This is the kind of stuff you want to have in your report. This is showing that, man, you're paying attention. This appraiser's on the ball. Can't stress that enough. Picture worth 1,000 words. When people can see that you have this kind of data at your fingertips, they know you're actually paying attention and doing an analysis. You're diffusing a lot of questioning of you up front. But at the end of the day, I'm even on the tri-mean, it makes my case the best. Thank you, Michael, for the tri-mean. I'm not applying a rate. That's silly. Guard gated. Boy. What kind of... I got 94 records, so yeah, pretty decent. You know what? Let's start looking at our panel. And I've been on that, I told you I've been on the standard deviations kick recently on a filter. I don't know, I like it. Michael said something to me a couple weeks back. And I have OCD. It's stuck in my head, so, okay. Guard gated. All right. I'm going to give you forgot. Setup. You guys are looking at this data saying, well, where's this data at? Good point. This is the data for a hypothetical property we're going to do data on. And here we are. New part of North Las Vegas, not too far from the Air Force Base. Nice house, 3-car garage. Give you the little bit of the information on the property. You can see we're a 3,132 square foot property. No pool, not gated, not guard gated. So again, let's this time, I didn't go over it last time because Sun City Anthem, I was in an age-restricted community, and truly the only thing, comparable is age-restricted. But let's go back to what is hugely important in this whole exercise and use of the program. You want to define a market area, market environment. You want to analyze your market, not just your comps too. I mean, that comes down to your parameters. So, I mean, you need to define a good market area. Now, I'm going to show you guys where mine is. You Vegas people can, Losie's where I usually stop on this part of the east side. But you guys in Vegas can get an idea. Now, you know where that guard gate is coming from. There's that Run v. Hobart tract in here. Believe it or not, there's a guard gated section in here of tracks. Competitive as far as design, stuff like that, but obviously the feature of the guard gate, at least our initial pass was showing that there was some significance. So that's us. Now, this is expansive. This is 3.5 miles that way. I mean, at the top side here, let's shave it down a little bit, 3 miles. So 3 miles by 3.5 miles, it's not a cereal bowl. You don't live in a cereal bowl. Why would you mark one? But I tell you one thing, this is all the same market area. It's just a little section if you actually think about it. I mean, if we look at the broader view of the town, not, but that is my area. Now, I know I'm going to get a decent amount of sales there. I got 94. Now, let's put in some parameters. What I mean when I cheat, when I say I cheated. My 1004MC, me. You can do what you want to do. I'm not wrong. You're not wrong. But, I do plus or minus. First of all, two-story. But I do plus or minus 25%. So I was 3132 square foot. Actually, I measured it out hypothetically in my sleep. I measured it out. Anyways, plus or minus 25% was 2361 to 3935. Now, there are some new construction in here. And those are really not relevant to me. I mean, I was built in 2007. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and put in another filter because I know I'm going to have lots of data. You may leave this out. It will get measured out. New construction will pop up if you have that variable in your panel. It will pop up so you can handle it that way too. So I don't want to tell you to filter on every nook and cranny. You can do a lot of that in the platform. You can account for those things. This is just, I'm trying to keep apples to apples and show you what I did. And when you get proficient with the program, you can do these things with comfort, knowing that I can always, back down the zipper. I'm not worried about that. So 2001 to 2013. Why? Because it's going to kick out any new constructions. And let's just look at the solds right now. 93. $94. So one sale fell off. So you can see there's the context, the setup. We looked at that. We're not applying that. That's not even a factor. But let's start looking. So gated. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously not a significant factor. So you know what? Before I start playing with my tolerances, I'm just going to dump that one. I don't have any that I'm using that are gated anyways, and it's not very significant. Now, sometimes you might want to leave that in there to show that it's not significant, and it adds balance. But when you get proficient, you'll see that you can lightning fast play with things and go back if you want and address those things. Now here's the perfect case. We just went from one extreme to the next. Let's go sales price per square foot, and let's just eyeball the data. So we've got a median price per square foot in here of about 77 bucks. Actually, this is going to be interesting. $38.50 is 50%. And $53.90 is 70%. So we'll exit out of here. But here's a perfect example. Look on the high side right now. Now we haven't messed with any of these, and I'm definitely going to test because I'm just definitely testing. No ifs, ands, or buts. But you can see that our 50% is $38.50. I mean, we're not even covering that here. So we just went from one extreme where you had 83% or 84% attributed to livable area, and right now we're looking at less than 50% here. We're in the 40s, definitely on the high side. But I always test. Now remember, let's look at lot size. I always tackle that for now. Oh, wait, first this one. Let's do year built. This is a newer area. We only go 2004 to 2010. So new car smell and all. 4 years is, if I was more 1998 to 2005, maybe then. But this is a tight enough range as it is. I'm gonna do this. Now this is gonna restrict the pairing possibly of other stuff up front. So I'm gonna remember I did that because this is not that bad. Yeah. This guest house, don't worry, we're going to deal with that here in two. Actually, let's oh man. Let's deal with that now. I don't like that. Very minimal. Well, let's change that to 3 first. Let's leave that alone for a second. Okay, not much changes. Let's check our stats on lot sizes. 3,500 to 14,000. 500 is not a big, there's not a lot of properties getting roped in with only 500. So let's increase the initial pairings on the first round in the paired sales process, because sometimes that adds more balance to some of the coefficients. Okay, in that case, garage base started shooting up. Now, I always show you guys, let's look at this livable area. I always show you guys, oh, I dial it up. Sometimes I dial it down. I've removed it before. Let's go ahead and remove, let's go back to 1 instead of going 3, let's go 1. Let's restrict it a little bit and see why. Okay, this is okay. This is good. This is, you know, not bad. I mean, guest house. Okay, this is still, boy, it's right in there, close to the 50%. Guest house, though, so what do we do, guys? Do we kick it here, or do we say, all right, 6 records, not a big swing. Let's test it without it here before we kick it out totally from analysis. Let's just take it out of the significant variable panel. Now, we could always go in here and test it this way. Guest house. Click no. Now that removes those 3 property records all the way from the analysis. But I want to show you, we isolate variables and solve. Now, let's pay attention. That's good. I'm not going to get mad. I mean, utility, I'm not good. Sometimes cost is definitely a function of value, but sometimes for utility, I'm not going to get upset about that when everything else looks good. Now this, this is not bad. I mean, in this submarket, now we got a little bit distorted histogram going, but I just removed, pulls a little light, but hey, that's the data, 10,000. I just removed guest house though, and we're 36.5. Let's see what happens if I would have just removed it from the panel and left those properties in the analysis. Let's see the impact. Now look at that, guys. See, this is the beauty. Everything is interrelated to a degree. No problem there, no question. But we isolate variables and solve. Now, we now have those ones with the guest houses are in this data set being analyzed for other features like garage bay, livable area, lot size, yada, yada. When we took them out, totally took them out from any kind of analysis in the submarket filter, the results were rendering about the same numbers. So even though they're interrelated, the program was handling the data in a way properly that it wasn't making a drastic impact. So, that's a perfect situation of why we tested both. And to be honest, I don't need to keep it out. I'll do it again for you. Look, no guest house. Take them totally out of analysis. Those numbers are almost the same. So why keep a record of taking them out and explaining why I did that? I don't even have to. It's obviously not impacting the rest of the variables very well. Now we could have played around with different filters here, but again, time is money. Remember we just said happy town. I'm good. Now that trim brings down my garage bay, but look, it crushes my bath, and it brings this down. This is already, we're fighting low with ourselves. So in this case, guys, I'm calling it a day after I do standard devs 3. and saying, hey, you know what, I'm not arguing. And actually, I'm probably going to lean to 40. Why? Because I'm going to, comfort level wise, I'm going to be around that $50 a square. I'm not doing 35. Or 50% of the median sale price per square foot, excuse me. So, running and gunning, guys, this is what you do. Now, if the adjustment worked better at 40, trust me, in a hypothetical appraisal in my dreams that I was doing. Oh, look, we're going to look real smart. No, that's silly. That's silly. You know what? We're rounding that up. Look at that. I almost caught myself being silly. I'll put the 500 on that one. $30,000 in that market area. $31,000 whopping for a guard-gated location. Big deal. But look at the beautiful, the other number, excuse me, 6,000. Get the beautiful numbers. I know you guys are all liking that. I know some of you are saying, that garage bay. Yeah, but maybe it would have been not, you would have liked that unicorn, $5,000. I get it. But all the other variables are good, and that's not unreasonable for the demand and the utility factor. So again, the money shot page, I put it in every report. You're just not going to catch me slipping without having it in there, because I diffuse a whole lot of problems. I'm telling you what, people don't want to knuckle up when you got this kind of data. They know that if they want to, pick up the phone or fire off an email to you, it's game on. You got data. So you put it in the report. There's no marketing dollars that comes to us for you doing that. What you're doing is you are diffusing a huge amount of potential issues or problems from any end user, any upstream funding arms, any kind of review appraisers. You're being transparent. And you even got the comment down there, analysis model. Nobody wants to knuckle up with you at this point. You go to triage, that Fannie Mae CU, because they rated you a 4 because they had some garbage data that they were cascading against you, and this gets to one of those people that, is the model right or is the appraiser right, and they see this in your report. You're going to have more than just a pair stamp on there. You're going to have a stamp that you'll never see because it's internal that says model's wrong, appraiser's right. And that's what you do when you submit this in your report. Now you don't leave anything goofy in your variable panel. These numbers all have to be credible and reasonable. But if you do that, you mitigate a lot of problems, potential problems up front. And you're the last one they're coming after when the garbage hits the fan and they want to go doing buybacks and stuff like that, because your appraisals, they're going to look at that one and say, yeah, throw him to the bottom of the heap. We don't want to deal with that one. Or throw her to the bottom of the pile. We don't want to deal with them. They got data. Okay, guys, so, we talked about it a little bit before. The main, we showed you today a good case of where sometimes it's okay to question the results of pairs. Matter of factly, may have shown you or given you a reason to justify having more than one tool in your disposal for extracting adjustments. For those cases where you want to test, even Microsoft Excel, to be honest, since if you don't want to pay, we could have dumped our data and done a single line regression in Microsoft Excel for free, just on the livable area to test it. And I'm confident it would have tested as high as the other methods. But, also the main point is to get you to understand that, and it's to your benefit, this is not push a button automatic. This is a professional's platform This is a tool designed to give you the ultimate flexibility, but you have to touch it. You have to engage. It's not click a button and there's the numbers and I go running. And you don't want that in the first place. That's a computer. There's no need for us. So this is run by a professional, navigated by a professional, and validated by a professional before it's communicated. It's a superior product to anything out there that's automated. I assure you that. So you have to be willing to just understand a little bit of statistical backgrounds, deviations in data, how to identify outliers. You need to take advantage of some of the knowledge-based articles. I mean, read that PAIRS method doc. Don't just paste it in your report. Try to read it and understand it. Go through the links. Go through some of these FAQs, the knowledge-based articles. I mean, other than the PAIRS method, cleaning data, stats tab, tolerances. This is going to grow big time the next day or two. But the bottom of every page, there's a YouTube channel link. I mean, there's tons of data. There's this one that's, hey, you got extra time. I've got to find that one. On a weekend, after you've been using the platform for a little bit, there's one of features and functions. I can't even find it. There it is. GandySoft PAIRS features and functions. This is an hour and 10. Maybe after you've used PAIRS for a couple of weeks or a month or two, then dive into this one. This one really shows you all the stuff that you have at your fingertips that you can employ or explains them in detail. But tons of content. Awesome live webinars, of course, that are on there just for you. So get comfortable, dive in. This is not a program where you should anticipate signing up, creating an account, and doing modeling out an appraisal validation page and a report in your first day. Come on. You got to learn how to finger paint before you become Picasso. So you have to expect that there's a learning curve, and you have to be willing to start to understand things. I'm not saying it's going to take you weeks or months to get comfortable to be able to use this in your practice. But certainly don't try to put yourself under the pressure of, I got 30 minutes to get this appraisal out. I'm going to sign up, create an account, model this thing out, and get a page in there so I can support myself. That's not going to happen. It's not automatic. You got to actually do some stuff to learn. So again, this is ending imminently, excuse me. But right now, it's PAIRS free for now. We're still going on. You're going to get an email from us pretty soon, but Michael's working on some other whiz-bang awesome enhancements. I got my tap dance shoes all polished and ready to come in here with my knickers, and I'm going to dance when we get to announce some of those. When you see a email invitation to special webinars, pay attention, because we're not going to use the word special lightly. They'll definitely be worth your while. So again, just dive in. Do not fear the robo-computer. This is the 1-2 punch ninja training for the robo-computer. They can't hang. You're the professional. You're in charge. And all they want to do is make sure you're doing some kind of comprehensive statistical analysis. And what better and what easier to understand than with the gold standard paired sales analysis? That's what we give you with awesome, awesome flexibility and results. So thank you guys for coming. Come back as many times as you want. We're getting ready to get out of here, so we'll see you next time. Thanks.